Hello, everyone. In this lecture, we'll talk about while statements, then we'll talk about do while statements, and then we'll talk about use of break and continue statements. Before going to discuss them, let's talk about why do we need them. So in the previous lectures, we talked about if, else, and switch case statements, right? And we use them to make some kind of decision. If a condition is true, we execute a set of statements. And if the condition is not true, we execute a set of another statements. And then in switch case, we evaluated the expression. And then the expression gives us true or false. Sorry, the expression basically gives us an integer value. And then we try to find a match in the different case statements for that integer value. We discussed that. So now let's talk about how do we handle situations in programming where we perform some set of statements repeatedly, right? So in programming, sometimes we may want to execute a set of statements repeatedly. For example, let's say I want to display each student's score in a test. Let's say I want to compute and display each employee's weekly salary. So we want to do some repetitive task in a loop, right? So for that, we have in C++ or C programming, we have while, we have do while, and for loop statements. So in this series, we will talk about while, do while statements, and then the next lecture series will talk about for loop statements. So let's talk about while statement. So while statement, it also looks like the if-else statement, except the keyword if. So here, if you look at the while statement, right? So what is the format of while statement? So you have this keyword while. Following that, inside a parenthesis, you have a Boolean expression, which should give you true or false, 1 or 0 value. And then inside a pair of curly braces, we have a set of statements. So how does this while statement work? So first, we check this condition. If this condition is true or 1, then whatever statements are appearing inside the block, while statement block, we execute that. So we execute this one, and so on, we execute this one, right? Then again, we go back to this Boolean expression. We check that if it comes out true, then we again execute this set of statements, right? And then we again go here. So we continuously do that as long as this Boolean expression is true. As long as this Boolean expression is true. When this Boolean expression is false or 0, right? So when this Boolean expression is false or 0, so our code basically jumps here, skipping all these statements which are inside the while statement. So that's how basically we execute statements repeatedly in while statement. So what we have to do, we have to evaluate the Boolean expression. If it comes out true, we execute all the set of statements which are inside the while statement. And then we again go to check the Boolean expression. And if it comes out true, again, we do the same. But once the Boolean expression is false, then we exit that while loop. So let's understand this through an example. So let's say I have to write a program that can display welcome to C++ 50 times. So for that, the simple approach is that I can write welcome to C++ 50 times with C out statement, but that is so boring, right? And it will take too much space in the program, right? So you have to write like 50 lines of code to display welcome to C++ using C out statement, right? And since we are doing this, we are repeatedly displaying welcome to C++, so we can use while statement, right? So how do we do that? Let's understand this through the syntax example. So here is a code example. So here, let's say to avoid like 50 times displaying, let's say I'm displaying it 3 times in this case. So here I have a variable. I have a variable count, which I have initialized with 0. And then here I have this while statement. So here I have a keyword while, and then I am comparing this count less than equal to. And inside this while statement, I have 2 statements, C out, welcome to C++, and L, and count is equal to count plus 1 or count plus plus, they are same. So how does this code work? So here we have initially the value that is assigned to count is 0. And then we have while loop. So count will be compared with 2 for less than or equal to relationship. Since count is 0, 0 is smaller or equal to 2, it's true. So this condition first time is true. So if it is true, then this will be executed. So it will display welcome to C++, exclamation. And then your count will be increased. So count will become now, initially count was 0. Now count will become 1. And then we again go to here. Now again we have to compare count with less than or equal to 2 relationship. Since count is 1, 1 is smaller or equal to 2, it's true. So second time it's also true. Okay, so then it's true, then this will again execute this C out statement, and it will display welcome to C++ second time, and then your count will be upgraded by 1. So now count will become 2. And then your code will again go here. And then now 2 is smaller than or equal to 2, which is again true. Then your code will execute this statement, welcome to C++ third time. And then now count will be incremented by 1 again. So now count will be 3. So again, your code will go to this expression. So now 3 will be compared with 2 for the relationship less than or equal. So 3 less than equal to 2 false. Right? So then your code will, at this time, your code will basically jump here. Your loop will exit. Okay. So that's basically how the while loop statement works. Now let's do this in the example. So let's do this in the code, right? So here we have to display welcome to C++, let's say 10 times. Okay. So how do I do that? So I need to keep track for how many times welcome to C++ has been displayed. So what I do basically here, I will just declare a variable count equal 0. So count is initialized with 0. And then I will write this while count less than equal 10. And then I will write here welcome to C++, right? And then I have to write this count plus plus, which is equal to count is equal to count plus 1, right? So now here, if I run this program, so you see that it's displaying welcome to C++ 10 times, right? So here, few things that we need to keep in mind. So every time in the loop, this condition is checked. Any condition that you put in the expression. And this loop gets executed as long as this condition is true. So here, when you write basically a program where you are using while statement, so you need to have a mechanism so that this condition at one point of time, it should get false, right? If it is always true, then your program will run in a loop. And in many situations, you don't want to do that. Most of the situation, you don't want to do that. So here, so we have to, at one point of time, we have to basically make this condition. So most of the time, it should go true, true, true. In majority, this should go true. But at one point of time, you should make it false, right? So that's why we have, if you see this thing, right? So this is basically, this statement is used for that purpose, right? So here we are updating, we are incrementing the count variable so that at one point of time, count should exceed this number, right? So let's say when count will become 11, right? So then this relation will be false, right? And then your loop will exit. So here, if you forget to do this, your loop will run in infinite times. It will not stop. So to stop your loop, you have to update the variable that you are using here for comparison. So here we are using count for comparison. So we need to update the count variable so that at one point of time, this relationship gives you false value and you exit from the loop. So here, what you need to remember, what is the syntax of while loop? So we have to use a keyword while. Then we should have a Boolean expression. And this Boolean expression should give us true or false. And then what do we want to execute if the Boolean expression is true? We have to keep them inside the pair of curly braces, like statement 1, statement 2, and so on. And then if the condition, if the expression is true, then these statements will execute. And again, your code will go here. Again, the expression will be evaluated. And if it is true, then this set of statements will execute. Otherwise, your loop will break or exit, right? And here, to make this expression false at one point of time, you should have a statement that can help you to make this expression false at one point of time. Otherwise, your code will run in infinite loop. So that's one example of while loop. Let's do another example of